Well, it's my pleasure today to be standing here with three incredibly brave and courageous young folk. We have, just to my right, Christopher McCarricker. He's a student at St. Joseph's Catholic Secondary School. Leanne Iskander, student at St. Joseph's Catholic School, and the founder for the Catholic Students for Gay Straight Alliances. And then finally, Trevor James, a student at St. Peter's Secondary School. I also want to make sure that people know that in attendance we have Stephen Page and Lee Cater from Ryerson Child and Youth Care Program, and also Taishan Menzies from St. Joseph's Well. So welcome everyone, and I'm delighted to host this along with my colleague Peter Tabbins, our education critic for the New Democratic Party. And certainly we think that the students that you're going to hear from have a critical point to make. So take it away, guys.
I'd like to take my time to speak to tell the story of a close friend of mine from Brampton who couldn't be here and was afraid to come out and tell her story because of fear of public backlash from her family and from her school. Like many, trying to start a GSA in my school was a huge struggle. We experienced a lot of pushback and resistance from administration while trying to start a group. When we first asked for the group, we asked for an LGBTQ specific group, but instead we were given a general equity club, and we were told that we were not allowed to have a queer specific group. Since we were not allowed to call our club a Gay Straight Alliance, we asked if we could call it a Rainbow Alliance, but from calling it that too because it was too political. The only choice that the board gave us in names was rather a story, like a name from a biblical story or Open Arms. They said anything else was too LGBTQ and sounded too inappropriate for our school and our age group. Even when we tried to use certain LGBT symbols like the pride flag for our club, they were deemed too inappropriate and had too many negative sexual connotations for the Catholic school. In all these ways, they were forced to keep the group closeted and hidden. Some people argue that schools should have general equity clubs instead of gay straight alliances because it is not just LGBTQ students who are being bullied. And we are aware that other forms of bullying are important problems too. But as students, we know that what the student needs are and what kind of group is best for us. The fact that we are asking for these clubs shows a specific need for this support. This club forms a sense of belonging for LGBTQ students who otherwise are being isolated or unaccepted everywhere else. It is easy that these students to feel cut off from everyone and not be able to feel accepted. With a group that specifically focuses on queer issues like a Gay Straight Alliances, students who identify as LGBTQ can finally have a sense of belonging and community. I have both experienced and witnessed an enormous amount of bullying and harassment towards LGBTQ students here at my school. I wanted to create a safe space for these students who are targeted for being gay. I saw that homophobic bullying was a huge problem among students, and that's why I think that Gay Straight Alliances are the only way to properly address specific challenges that LGBTQ students face. Having the name Gay Straight Alliance would allow our group and members to be visible in a positive way. So often with LGBTQ issues, it has been a struggle to become visible as we are constantly being forced and pressured to keep quiet and keep hidden. LGBTQ youth are being told by their peers every day that who they are is inappropriate and shameful. Now these schools are sending the same message to students by not allowing students to form gay straight alliances. Hiding a gay straight alliance under the guise of a general equity club isn't fair to the students who identify as LGBTQ. We need our schools, administrations, and staff members to set an example for students and to be a positive role models for them. Since fighting for this group was such a struggle for me, I want to make sure that other students try to create a gay straight alliance in their schools will be able to do so without resistance from administration. I want Bill 13 to send a clear message to students, teachers, and school boards that if students want to run a gay straight alliance, they should legally be entitled to it. I don't want to see other students have their groups being intimidated into the closet. I hope that Bill 13 will be airtight and won't allow school boards to work around the legislation and continue to suppress gay straight alliances and the students who wish to form them. Go.
I'm from St. Joseph's in Mississauga, and I tried to start a Gay Straight Alliance at my school in March of last year. And initially, our school didn't let us have the group at all, or any alternatives to that group, because they said that it wasn't in line with Catholic values and that there were already other supports in place, like guidance counselors. And then we did eventually like get an issue-specific group, but it wasn't allowed to be called a Gay Straight Alliance. It was supposed to be called Open Arms, and there were still guidelines like for it to be like within Catholic teaching. So we didn't really get like everything that we wanted, and it wasn't really as effective as it could be. And then in September, my principal and the superintendent called a meeting with me and my parents, and they said that that our group was going to be a general equity group, and that we couldn't have a GSA, and that that I might that I could face potential disciplinary action if I continued to advocate for a GSA. So, like, currently, our group is supposed to go under the Respecting Difference guidelines, which is the guidelines from the Catholic Trustees Association. And we find these guidelines, like, very restricting. They're definitely, like, not what we wanted as students. And I know, like, students in other schools don't want that either. They're very limiting, and, like students aren't able to, like take the initiatives that they want to in their school to combat bullying and homophobia and transphobia. So we want to be able to call our group what we want, and we think it's important because, like, with a name that's so generic, like Open Arms, students aren't going to be able to, like, know what that is, and they aren't going to be able to know that that's a support group for queer and trans students. Also, like, with general equity groups, like, maybe, like, if students want to come out there and talk about their experiences, under the guidelines, they wouldn't really be able to do so because the guidelines think that those discussions should happen privately with, like, a chaplain or a guidance counselor. And also, like, for students to come out in a general equity group, other students might be there for reasons, like, other than to be supportive of queer and trans students, and they could be putting themselves at risk by doing so. So ultimately, I think it's very important that students be able to form gay straight alliances, and so I want to make sure that that happens.
I guess I've already been introduced, but my name is Trevor. I'm from St. Peter's in Peterborough. Our school I love my school. I really do. It's my home away from home, and I love everything I do there. And I have some friends that I'm fairly sure are going to last my entire life. We have been allowed to make our Respecting Differences group, but the problem, and my principals are very supportive. The VPs are very supportive. The problem is that under the Respecting Differences guidelines, students feel stifled, and it's not a select group of students either. There's general outcry from anyone who hears that the group can't do things that they want to do. Kids, and I've had kids who say they're not going to join, or they won't join because the group cannot realistically accomplish what they need the group to do for them. Under the guidelines, any form of activism is banned, which I think almost defeats the purpose of having the group. The group is about mainly community, a safe place for everyone, a safe place for students regardless of their sexual orientation. And it's about educating. It's about, because combating ignorance starts with education. The most important point I can make here is that it's not an us versus them thing. It's not the board versus the students. It's not the Tories versus the Liberals. This impacts everyone, every student, every teacher, everyone, because these kids who are being bullied, they're not a select group of people. These are your sons, your daughters, your grandchildren, your nieces, your nephews, your brothers and your sisters. These people just simply want to be treated equally. They want to be able to have a safe place to go, and they don't want to feel like a stranger, isolated in their own school. I want Bill 13 to pass as it is. I don't want amendments. I don't want Catholic schools to be so different. I want everyone, and I don't want to suppress any sort of religious freedoms. I just want a place where my friends can feel safe, where they're able to speak freely without fear of reprisal, where they're able to genuinely express themselves in an environment that might otherwise not be so accepting. That comes to the issue of peer counseling. Under the guidelines, peer counseling isn't allowed. And I'm very aware that high school students aren't psychologists, they're not social workers, they can't help with huge issues that otherwise might be out of our grasp. But there are everyday little things where having a friend who can say, it's okay, I'm here for you, having a friend who can say, well, I dealt with this situation this way, and maybe that's something you should take into account, is one of the most amazing things. It's one of those things that really helps you in a very difficult time. And I think that's a message that needs to be taken across, that we're not fighting, we just want to be treated equally.